A soldier dies twice, once on the battlefield and again when his name ceases to be spoken. World War II was one of the deadliest and most devastating conflicts in human history. From 1939 to 1945, nations across Europe, Asia, Africa, and the Pacific were consumed by war, violence, and occupation. Entire cities were destroyed, millions of civilians were displaced, and more than 60 million people lost their lives. For the people of the Netherlands, the war was especially painful. In May 1940, Nazi Germany invaded the Dutch homeland in just 5 days. Although the Dutch military resisted fiercely, the country was overwhelmed. The Netherlands remained under brutal German occupation for nearly 5 years. During that time, Dutch citizens faced oppression, forced labor, food shortages, bombings, and the deportation of tens of thousands of Jewish citizens to concentration camps. By the winter of 1944-1945, remembered as the Hunger Winter, many Dutch families were literally starving. For Dutch civilians, the sight of freedom came in the form of American soldiers fighting through their towns. These young American soldiers fought through burning streets, bridges, crossed rivers under enemy fire, and gave their lives far from home so the Dutch people could live free again. In 1944 and 1945, American soldiers helped liberate towns across the Netherlands, bringing an end to years of Nazi occupation. The liberation of the Netherlands was not peaceful or easy. It was fought street by street, bridge by bridge, and town by town by young Allied soldiers who risked everything for a country far from home. Two days before Christmas in 2023, a story began in an unexpected place. I was scrolling through the Facebook page of a local thrift shop in Berlin, Connecticut, when I came across this post. Having 5 adult children, their spouses, and 7 grandchildren, my wallet said don't, but my heart said you have to. Within 45 minutes, they were in my hands. I instantly began searching them. With the help of Carol Dennehy and many interruptions from Lulu, we discovered where they belonged. These men all belonged to the 79th Infantry Regiment and trained at Camp Blanding in Florida. Eventually, I found the Friends of the 79th Infantry Division World War II Facebook page. I shared the story and posted all 93 names so families could find their relatives' photographs. Soon after, I was contacted by George Cressman, historian at Camp Blanding Museum and Memorial Park. He asked me to scan all of the photos for the museum to catalog so future researchers and families could access them. I obliged. The photographs had finally reached where they belonged. I felt like I had done what I set out to do. The photos were in the right place, I set the box of the originals on my bookshelf, and Christmas went on. But on August 7th, 2025, everything changed. I could not have expected how the story would unfold. I received a message on Facebook from Sue Linton, a woman in Michigan, who volunteered for the Faces of Margraten project. For 4 years, she had been searching for a photograph of Hedvig M. Usula, a Michigan soldier killed on May 3, 1945, and buried at Netherlands American Cemetery. And yet, by complete coincidence, Hedvig's photograph had been sitting quietly on a bookshelf in my office in Connecticut.
Oh. Hello, my name is Susan Linton, and I'm from Michigan. I'll try to give you some background on why I became involved with the Fields of Honor Foundation and the Faces of Margraten project. In 2016, I was contacted by Roy Gotchens from Beek, Netherlands. He wanted to know if my father, Robert Folk, was a member of a B-17 plane that crashed in their town on October 14, 1943. My answer to his email with a yes was the start of a 10-year deep friendship. My search for family members for this crew of 10 resulted with 31 of us meeting for the first time and attending the dedication of the Cole Crew Memorial on October 14, 2017. 6 of the crew members, including my father, became POWs, and 4 were buried at the Margraten Cemetery. After the war, 2 families had their sons brought back to the U.S., while 2 crew members remain at Margraten. After the dedication, we visited the Margraten Cemetery, where 10,023 Americans are honored with grave sites or names on the honor walls of the missing. That is when I learned about the adoption program that was initiated by the Dutch after the end of World War II. I have visited Margraten 3 times and will be there again this October. It is awe-inspiring to see the reverence the Dutch continue to pay to our fallen heroes. When the association asked for help in finding pictures for these Americans, I volunteered. So many heartwarming stories, like the ones that introduced me to Catherine and that she will talk about, have touched my heart and kept me searching. Almost 9,000 photos have been found from Margraten, and the project has expanded to other World War II cemeteries overseas. I am now also working with the Henry Chapelle Cemetery in Belgium. A big thank you goes to Catherine for her dedication and helping to preserve the legacies of the World War II generation. Thank you.
It hit me. These photos were never just sitting on my bookshelf. They were waiting to go home. Hedvig was from Ironwood, Michigan, and enlisted in World War II. With Sue's help, I sent his photo to the Faces of Margraten project and had it added to his online memorial. He was no longer a name. He was a human being, a soldier who fought for our freedom. What made this find more heart-wrenching? Hedvig married a woman back home during his time in the military. She became pregnant with their son. Hedvig went overseas to fight. He never came home. His son was born in December of 1944, and Hedvig lost his life in May of 1945. No one had a photo of Hedvig. His widow remarried in 1948 and had 2 more children. His son was raised with his 2 sisters in a good family. More than 80 years later, he had still never known what his father looked like. Yet, by pure coincidence, or maybe something greater than coincidence, his father's photograph had been sitting quietly on a bookshelf in my office in Connecticut all along, hundreds of miles away from the family who had spent decades searching for it. With Sue's help, I got in touch with his sister. We were both in shock as we talked back and forth. I texted her the photo of her brother's father, and after conversations full of emotions, I had the photo blown up and put into a lovely frame. I sat down and wrote Hedvig's son a letter and mailed it to her along with the framed enlargement and the original photo. In October of that year, she made the trip to present it to her brother. Hedvig's son is a very quiet and private man, but there is no doubt the emotion was there. At 81 years old, he sat looking at a framed photograph of the father he had never known nor seen. What struck the family most was how much they looked alike. For me, from that moment on, I knew this work could not stop. I agreed to take on the task of helping locate photographs and stories for the remaining Connecticut soldiers connected to the Faces of Margraten, whose identities and images had still not been found. The list was emailed to me, and one name immediately stood out. John V. Quinto, 313-410-49, Bristol, Hartford County. Within hours, I built his family tree and found his living family. His family sent his photo to me, and I promptly submitted it to the Fields of Honor database to be put on his memorial. Today, John Victor Quinto and Hedvig M. Jusela are no longer simply names on white crosses. They are remembered as sons, brothers, husbands, and fathers. They are lives that lived and lives that were lost for our freedom. Did you think that was it? A story this remarkable can only get, well, even more remarkable. Kathy Macias, one of our committee members, was on her way to the Netherlands to visit her son. She added a day trip to her itinerary to the Netherlands American Cemetery to meet the adopter of John Victor Quinto's grave. Mayor Ellen Zappo Sassu sent her with 2 proclamations and 2 keys to the city, one for the mayor of the Dutch municipality of llives and Margraten, and one for the adopter of John Victor Quinto. Linda Monarino, John's sister, sent her with a letter. We at the Memorial Military Museum had a plaque made for the adopter of John Victor Quinto, and also sent a letter from all of our committee members with Kathy to the Netherlands. Did you think that was the grand finale? Come on, you should know by now this story just does not want to end. Just over 2 weeks before her trip to the Netherlands, Kathy Macias discovered that she had a relative buried in the Netherlands American Cemetery as well, making her trip even more emotional for her. James William Whalen was killed in action November 22, 1944, and rests in Margraten. And Kathy was off. On Monday, May 11th, Kathy officially stepped onto the grounds of Netherlands American Cemetery. Despite the gray skies here in Bristol, just knowing she was there and what her intent was, the day somehow felt brighter for us. She was greeted by a representative of the cemetery, who then led her to the resting place of her own relative, James Whalen. He showed her the process of washing the crosses to keep them so pristine white. This Dutch citizen, a man who never personally knew John Victor Quinto and was born years after John's death, chose to take responsibility for preserving the memory of Bristol's fallen son. There is no greater tribute than seeing strangers, generations later, lovingly adopt our fallen sons into their own families and keep their memories alive as if they were their own. We are forever grateful to the citizens of Margraten for the love and devotion they have shown our fallen American soldiers for more than 80 years. Hedvig and John are in good hands. Wars are fought. Some are won, and some are lost. But long after the battles end and the guns fall silent, humanity and love still remain. In memory and in honor of Private First Class Hedvig M. Jusela, we remember you. In memory and in honor of Private First Class James William Whalen, we remember you. In memory and in honor of Sergeant John Victor Quinto, we remember you. Of the 17 Connecticut men who still needed photos and stories, I also discovered a photo for William Harvey Ritchie, who lived in Plainville at the time he enlisted and lost his life on September 22, 1944. He rests in Margraten, and his image is now with his memorial. In memory and in honor of Sergeant William H. Ritchie, we remember you. Of the remaining men on the list, photos I am still searching for are William H. Baldwin of Middletown, Joseph F. Brzeznicki of Danbury, Charles Kramerevich of New Haven County, George W. Eaton Jr. of New Haven County, Michael A. Maddie of Bridgeport, Carl A. Nicosia of Fairfield County, Paul P. Slosar of Bridgeport, Francis L. Swanson of Hartford County, Dempster Swift of Stamford, John C. Wargo of Bridgeport, Miroslav West of New Haven County, and William Zelenik of Winstead. Luther Baxter was on the list incorrectly. He was from Alabama. I have made contact with a family member for Algoth Johnson, and he is looking for his photo. 169 Connecticut servicemen rest beneath the soil at the Netherlands American Cemetery in Margraten. War brought our young sons to the Netherlands. But love, remembrance, and gratitude are what kept them there forever.
Our country's calling us away, though we're still someone's sons. We are only boys marching into war, still too young to understand what we are dying for. Hold on tight and promise me that you'll remember who we were the day we crossed that borderline. That borderline.